Put this grounds back on for this coil. Notice that they've got factory post grounding on there. So make sure you get the paint off the frame. Just take a file and scrape that paint off there. Make sure you can get a good ground to those locations. I think they want it bolting on this way like that. But you got to get a good ground there, guys. The other thing I didn't do, and I got to go back and do, is I got to make sure I got a good ground on the frame to the motor. So somewhere on this engine, you know, probably like right here or up here, probably on the head would be better because that's right where the spark plug's grounded to. I'm going to take that plate back off and I'm going to get the paint off of both sides of the frame and both sides of the head and get the clear coat off both sides of the bracket. You want to make sure you get a good ground through there. Okay, so I'm going to take that back off and do some paint removal, make it look like that where it bolts together. Got to get good ground through there, guys. Wires all hooked up and tucked away nice and safely. We're going to zip tie it up on the bar when we get up there, but we got them secured here behind these two brackets, so when we bolt radiators and tanks down, we're not going to be pinching wires. See that? And we got all the grounds nice and loose. There's nothing pulling, so when you're riding, there's nothing that's going to pull a connector out or pull a wire out of a connector and cause you to DNF a race, or worse yet, have an accident because you lost power at the wrong time. So all that stuff's nice and safe and loose, and then this is strapped to the frame to give it a base. I might trim this shorter here. We'll see what happens when we put the tank on, because this doesn't need to be that long. In fact, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just simply going to trim that. That's all there is to it. But yeah, that's what you want with your wiring, guys. You want it up and secure and safe and out of the way, and nothing can snag it. It can't get on any exhaust pipes. See how it's away from the heat, zip tied up over here, so it can't get over there and get hot and get melted. Alright guys, keep your wiring protected. After you get all your grounds made and get all your plates cleaned up and you got ground connections made everywhere, the next thing you want to do is test for spark. No sense throwing gas tanks and exhaust pipes on if it ain't going to run. So lay your plug right there on the head. This is all painted. You don't want to use these painted surfaces. You know, even these studs are painted for rust prevention. So you want to lay it right down here where there's no paint and just turn it over and see what you got. Yeah. So we got spark. The other thing you want to watch about doing that is don't do that on an engine that's recently run, because you got gas fumes and fuel. You got two-stroke fume mix laying down in the crankcase. You go spraying that stuff up past that spark plug like that, it will ignite, it will pop. So, but I know this engine hasn't run, there's no fuel in it, so. So this cooling system on this bike was a lot simpler than the one on the RM250, guys. You got an external water pump that was already built into the case, functioning fine. Seals were good, no problem there. The hoses and the hose clamps are all in good shape. I don't like how that hose rubs between that frame and that plastic cover, but that's the way Kawasaki designed it. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. I'm just going to keep an eye on its condition. I got good, used but good hose clamps on all the way around the system. I didn't spot for shiny new ones this time because they're under the covers anyway. But they are all good, and I had one that wouldn't pull up tight, so of course I threw that out. You never twist a band clamp back and make it work a second time. You just throw it away. It's not worth it. if it gives up in the middle of a ride, there's your DNF. So I had to move this wire over here on this side because the exhaust, found out what this mounting was. We didn't know on the teardown. This is an exhaust mount, guys. That's what that is. And the wire was rubbing on the exhaust when I quick fit it. I didn't bolt it on and attach it yet. I just laid it up there to see the layout. And this was actually rubbing, so I moved that wire to the other side and shortened it even more so that it didn't touch up here. So we've taken a lot of unnecessary line out of the coil system, shortened and corrected and cleaned up the connections. You want the shortest, cleanest, best wires you can. You don't want them rubbing frames. You don't want them shorting out. It's all DNFs, guys. And even if it's not a DNF, it's an accident waiting to happen. You know, you're midair and all of a sudden, boom, your ignition cuts out. You leaned over in a corner with your knee on the ground, you pick up the throttle, and boom, you got no power. Down you go. So take care of your bikes, guys. It's your physical safety. I wanted this wire to run up along the frame to give it a cleaner look, to give it better cosmetology, but I decided against it because of the way the hoses and the wiring was. So I'm just going to leave it back here and zip it right there. After I get that hose in place, I'll just zip that right there and just leave it towards, you know, a little bit back from the radiator. It doesn't look as clean, but it's a safer, better way to route it. And on this side, I changed the way I had the clutch cable going through. I put the clutch cable along the right side of the frame rail and up behind the right radiator mount. And then by the time it flexes over and gets mounted to the lever, it'll be perfect. So I changed the way I routed my clutch cable after I put the cooling system on. So, all right, guys. We're going to get this cooling system filled up, let it hold some water for a while, and then what we'll do is get that exhaust pipe on. All right, so I got my last hose to put on, but yeah, that's it with this cooling system. This one was in good shape. This one needed a lot less work and a lot less finishing than on the Suzuki. So, all right.